Welcome to Orbicle Times Podcast, and hello to everyone, whatever part of the globe you're from or happen to reside in. My name is Kelly Jo, and here we'll provide armchair conversations gathered from interviews and research reviews to explore the seen, the unseen, and the in-between of the supernatural paranormal phenomena, with topics that circle around Spirit Orbs, NDEs, OBEs, UFOs, time slips, mystical moments, higher consciousness, and more. I hope that this cast will be our meeting place and judge-free zone where we can explore, learn, and grow through the telling of. This cast will be launched on a monthly basis or a bi-weekly schedule whenever I'm able to make contact with those in the know for their telling of. Speaking of those in the know and the telling of, have you had mystical moments or other supernatural paranormal experiences? Care to share on this cast? Then consider stepping into the light with your telling of, or send in your monologue for me to read on this podcast. Simply email orbicletimespodcast@gmail.com for a chance to contribute to this cast. In this episode of Orbicle Times, I'm talking good vibrations, which will circle around the highs and lows of vibration, some strategies that may reduce stress and increase energy through such practices as sound therapy, positive thoughts, forest bathing, just to name a few. In the last year or so, I have begun to explore some of the ins and outs of musical singing bowls, and had planned for a future episode on the topic. But after my interview with Dennis Bullock, where he offered up a form of gratitude as a strategy to increase one's energy, because gratitude affects attitude, which you can listen to in episode 17 and 18. Well, I then thought, why not first explore some vibration-raising strategies, and perhaps follow that up with an episode or two exploring some elements within some of the practices. This episode provides some possible practices which may help raise vibration, but is not meant as a replacement for medical intervention for serious mental or physical discomfort or conditions. As always, consult a medical practitioner before the practice of any of the following examples. And so, without further ado, it's just me. There's no interview. When I was young, my family used to go on camping trips, especially out to PEI, or go up north to a camp where I was taught to row a boat and fish. Not too fond of fishing these days. I've tried my hand at canoeing. I've lived amongst the boreal forest, trail walker that I am, practiced with a small P, meditation, and obtained a 3-year college diploma in therapeutic recreation after receiving my BA. Just to be clear, I don't consider myself an expert in any of the aforementioned practices. All the same, this is a timely topic for me. The last few months have been a little stressful, and during the month of May, I will be moving, leaving my home of the last 15 years. There's a lot of baggage associated with that, literally and metaphorically speaking, at least for me. The beginning of May will also be lending itself to my daughter's wedding, and because one never knows what the weather will blow in here in Canada, my daughter will be having her wedding at a botanical garden. Nice touch, Chloe. These are milestone events, and I've had my share of anxiety, at least in terms of the move. I've done my best to stay centered, if you will. Not an easy task, especially when such events require planning ahead, and other events, well, they're just not in your control. So what to do to maintain, or better yet, increase good vibrations? I have heard it said that everything is energy, and energy vibrates at different frequencies. When we feel calm, happy, positive, we may then be in a high vibrational state. However, when we are anxious, depressed, or have a case of the stinkin' thinkins, well, such emotions may lower our vibrations. We have internal vibrations which affect us on a physiological level. Some examples are heartbeat, breathing, circadian rhythms, which regulate the temperature of our body, hormone secretion, digestion, blood pressure, and more. According to the website Balance, there are much smaller vibrations occurring inside each cell, which can be detected using an atomic force microscope to discover vibrations at a nanoscale level. Vibration and the electromagnetic energy associated with them can cause changes in our cells, which can then affect how our body functions. In order to raise our vibration, we need to increase the frequency at which we vibrate. According to balance, there is something called incoherent signals that occur within our body and can be the cause of negative thought patterns. And when exposed to these incoherent signals, we might then feel out of alignment, owing to less communication between the cells, which apparently then, quote, cause a corresponding change in vibration and potentially less energy, which, in turn, affects our cells' biological function and soul, end quote, or if you prefer, our emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. So then, raising one's vibration might cause one to feel good, or is it when one feels good, one's vibration will rise? Well, either way, it sounds like a win-win. I'm now going to explore some practices to maintain or increase energy levels that might help shift one's energy into a higher vibration and contribute to one's well-being, and hopefully, your quality of life. Something to think about. Thoughts can affect behaviors and, in turn, our vibration. Anxious thoughts can cause stress hormones such as cortisol, but if your anxiety persists, these hormones can actually become part of the cause. On the other hand, when we feel happy, our body produces dopamine, sometimes referred to as the happy hormone. And according to the website Henry Ford Health, there is also the feel-good hormone known as serotonin, which is the key to fighting off anxiety and depression. Additionally, endorphins and serotonin are also happy-type hormones. If you're interested in HFH's activity pics to help produce or release these hormones, visit my website at www.orbicletimes.com for their link found in my post entitled Raising Vibration with Vibrations. Almost everyone has internal dialogue or mental noise throughout the day. Psychologist and researcher Dr. Jordan Popkin, or perhaps it's Popkench. Sorry, doctor. Anyways, Dr. Jordan and colleagues out of the University of Queens in Canada found that we have approximately 60,000 thoughts a day during our waking hours. Data was gathered from 184 volunteers who underwent an fMRI brain scan. These researchers devised a method to isolate when one thought leads to another, described as a thought worm. I would have thought that something more rapid-moving as a descriptor might have been more appropriate. The study had subjects focus on a single thought or idea and then jump to the next thought, and were able to isolate that process using the brain scans. Dr. Popkin believes that this type of research will help us understand practical questions such as, quote, how doing one activity influences the nature of our thinking, end quote. The National Science Foundation states that 80% of our thoughts are negative and 95% of those are repetitive. Wow, that is something to think about. My conclusion, look for practices and strategies that might increase our happy hormones. If we switch the tone to positive speak, perhaps that will influence the frequency at which we vibrate, thus causing a positive vibration shift. Speaking of tone, let's talk sound therapy. Sound therapy, raising vibration with vibrations. Sound healing is the use of specific instruments which create music, tones, sonic vibration, which according to Yoga Basics website can contribute to healing the body, mind, and spirit. There are different types of instruments that can be utilized for such practice, such as Tibetan or crystal singing bowls, hand pans, gongs, bells, chimes, the tambura, even tuning forks. A sound therapy treatment allows for the frequencies of sound to go around and or on specific body parts. and I imagine through the body. One doesn't have to play an instrument in order to derive the benefits of sound therapy. On the contrary, sessions usually involve laying or sitting in a comfortable position while immersing in a chosen sound and its frequency through sound recordings, or can be performed by a sound practitioner. The sound can help us change our breathing, relax, and assist in the release of stress and anxiety, decreasing negative vibrations. Some different types of sound therapies, according to Yoga Basics website, include guided sound meditations. Uses specific instruments and guides you through a visualization or meditation. The musician will play the same note over and over again, kind of like chanting. The performance may be live or recorded. Intended outcome, hopefully states of deep relaxation. Chanting and kirtan. That's where a group is led in practice, where people sing and chant, and the instrument is voice. Intended outcome cultivates mindfulness, concentration, and compassion. Binaural beats, recorded music that spaces pure tones slightly above from each other. The tones are designed to induce certain brainwaves by creating a frequency mismatch between them. Intended outcome is to reach a different brainwave state, such as the alpha or deep delta. Think of Monroe's hemisync or hemispherical synchronization for promoting, according to Monroe, well-being or altered states of consciousness. Sound bath. This is one of my favorite sound choices. Vibrates when struck to produce the initial sounds. The sound of my choosing in regards to sound baths resonates from the Tibetan singing bowls, which is an inverted bell of sorts that can be led by one or more musicians. Different size bowls produce different tones, and depending on how and what the bowl or bowls are struck with and are made from, can produce different volumes, tones, and rhythms. Sound healing usually involves quieter tones. However, if that's not your jam, and you don't feel or have the need to heal, then perhaps whatever tunes or tones speak to your soul and elevate your being should also be able to raise your vibration. At least, that's what I think. Now let's walk to a different beat by immersing ourselves in nature. The idea that humans have a biological need to connect with nature is called biophilia, from the Greek word meaning love of life and the living world. Harvard Dr. Edward O. Wilson is said to have coined the phrase biophilia, the idea or theory that humans have a biological need to connect with nature. Being out in nature can utilize all of our senses, and that's the idea behind the Japanese practice of Shinrin-yoku, or the art of forest bathing. Forest bathing, or forest immersion, is a sensory practice where you bathe all of your senses by surrounding them in a natural environment, preferably while sitting still. Well, after you get where you're going anyways. Some benefits include lowering of blood pressure, anxiety, and stress hormones, and increasing your vibration. This practice of forest bathing is a nice counterbalance to the Japanese suicide forest, a topic for perhaps a future episode. Perhaps if one prefers camping, canoeing, or, say, cycling, they can still derive some of the same benefits of forest bathing as long as they stop and sense the roses. You can also immerse yourself into the study of forest therapy, and in the process, obtain a certificate. Yep, it's a thing. A 6-month, $500 thing. You can't afford that? No worries. With so many benefits to be derived from spending just a few hours a week in nature, benefits such as increased energy, reduced stress, pain reduction, heart health, one just needs some green space, or perhaps a walk on the wild side in Canada, where we now have a program that allows healthcare professionals to prescribe for their patients passes to a Canadian national park. Of course, you don't need to find a forest to derive the benefits of nature. If you are near to a garden, a green space, your backyard, that can work too. And while you're out and about, you might want to try your hand or your foot at something called earthing. Earthing also known as grounding, equates to our body making contact with the earth, more specifically, parts of our bare body, which can allow for our electrical frequencies to connect with that of the earth's. Aging, unhealthy diet, drug abuse, alcohol, lack of exercise can allow for free radical damage to occur within our bodies, contributing to cell deterioration. According to the website Lifehack, the Earth's surface has a negative charge and is constantly generating electrons that could neutralize free radicals in our body because the electrons act as antioxidants. When you touch your body to the ground, it dissipates static electricity, and additionally, you receive a charge of energy in the form of free electrons, so that your body synchronizes with the natural frequencies of our Earth. How to soak up those electrons? Simple. Just be in contact with some soil, sand, grass, a mountaintop, or some water. You can use your bare feet, hands, or other areas of the skin to be in contact with any natural conductors of the Earth's electricity. You can also use sheets, blankets, or mats, as long as they're made of natural fiber, to be put in between you and the earth. But when able, it's best to stick with au naturel in both cases. Bringing the outdoors in. Essential oils are an organic and natural way to enjoy the benefits of the outdoors. Pine oil is often used as an aromatherapy agent to combat adrenal fatigue and mild depression. And of course, one can listen to a variety of recorded forest or ocean soundscapes. If you're unable to admire and derive benefits of soil, grass, rocks, pebbles, sands, or crystals in their natural environment, then perhaps bringing in items such as fragrant flowering plants, easy-to-grow renewable bamboo, herbs, indoor fairy gardens, Zen sandboxes, or stones to balance for a meditation tower. It all might be an avenue for you. In terms of crystals, such as amethyst, quartz, jade, and blue coral, you might be aware of some of their said benefits, but you may want to consider some of the practices involved with their extraction. Something to think about. Fun fact, ever notice how the light in the forest is different or different? Forests exhibit much variation in light environments, and this can affect communication among animals, communication between animals and plants, photosynthesis, and plant morphogenesis. The chemicals that make up a forest's smell are volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. VOCs also scatter light, taking the sun's beams and turning that into a soft forest glow. If you happen to live in cooler climates and/or have mobility issues, and barefoot walking isn't an option, apparently there are grounding or earthing kits to be got. I have no personal experience with such said kits, but founder Clint Ober of EarthFX Inc. might. Clint is said to be somewhat of a pioneer in the grounding or earthing movement. His company, based out of California, conducts grounding research and development. Additionally, you can enjoy aspects of nature by having potted plants and herbs in your indoor environment. Spider plants clean the air, herbs enhance your food, and succulents seem to be the choice, especially for smaller spaces and those that may not have a green thumb. However, be mindful of the type of succulents you buy. As an example, many cacti are now near extinction because of their popularity and the poaching that is occurring surrounding that industry to meet demand and, of course, earn high amounts of money. If you'd like to learn more about earthing or grounding, there's a YouTube documentary called The Earthing Movie. I have a link on my website, orbicletimes.com. I hope some of this information has helped you feel more grounded and gives you pause to consider exploring some of the many practices that are available. And remember, it's called practice for a reason. Whether you dive into deep breathing, meditation, yoga, touch or sound therapy, or dip your toe into the outdoor immersion, or perhaps decide to change your attitude through gratitude, or any of the other additional practices that are out there, remember, they are just that, practices. And practices, it's all about repetition. Allow for time and show compassion to yourself while you decide if incorporating one, some, or none of the many practices available into your daily routine. It's up to you. Whatever you decide, I wish you good vibrations. Side note, due to my upcoming move in mid-May and Chloe's May wedding, I'll be taking an interlude of sorts for at least the month of May. Until then, take care, everyone. I would like to keep this cast a commercial-free zone. In light of that, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channels. All my orb videos are available by using the handle @Spirit Orbs Sightings, or visit my new channel with the handle @Orbicle Times Podcast. If you've already subscribed, many thanks. For blogs, episodes, show notes, bios, images, and video, please visit www.orbicletimes.com. If you enjoyed an episode, then please give a like or a share on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, or whatever podcatcher you happen to use. If you've already done so, much appreciated. Thank you for taking your time to visit these Orbicle Times. Orbicle Times Podcast is written, produced, edited, and hosted by me, Kelly Jo, at Studio Spare Room.